is created. One of the simplest relationships when it comes to air pollution in engines is temperature. When you change the temperature inside the cylinder of an engine, you change the amount of the type of pollutants that are created. I'm sure all of you have taken you've seen the chemical reaction where you have hydrocarbons and oxygen. Your output in a perfect reaction is water and carbon dioxide. But we certainly don't have a perfect reaction like that. First, there's nitrogen in the air. Combustion's inefficient, and so you get all these byproducts. One of the things you get is NOx. Another pollutant you get is particulate matter. NOx is what contributes to smog. So when you hear about the smog in Southern California, NOx combines with what are called volatile organic compounds and produces ozone. The other thing is particulate matter. That's soot. So when you see the black stuff on the previous slide, that's particulate matter. And one simple way we can control it is by raising the temperature inside the cylinder. If you raise the temperature in the cylinder, you increase, you actually will more completely combust, you will have more complete combustion inside the cylinder, and you will reduce your particulate matter. The problem is when you raise the temperature in the cylinder, you will also produce more NOx. So there's this trade-off that for a long time, people who had to deal with air pollution, you want to get rid of one pollutant, well, raise the temperature or lower the temperature. The problem is you're producing more of the other pollutant. And it was a not very good strategy. Another thing that we can do is change the fuel. And I don't know how many of you know or have traveled outside of California. California has more expensive gas prices than the rest of the country. The reason we have more expensive gas prices is because the fuel here is different from the rest of the country by law. And it's intended to be cleaner, so it burns cleaner, so we have cleaner air. By changing the fuel, you substantially reduce, you have the potential for substantially reducing emissions. That's what they did at the ports. Basically, the fuel for almost everything that was used there was clean. And that was one of the primary strategies that was employed, particularly on the ships. As a result of changing fuels and doing a few other things, the ports were able to reduce their emissions by 75%. The third thing is additives. You can add things to the fuel to make it better. But with all these sort of technologies, you need something that's you need to know what's going on. We've actually had experiences. Have you guys taken physics? Yeah, one guy. So you guys know what a perpetual motion machine is? Yeah. Okay. So we actually had a guy who came and offered this technology to us. We said, I got this technology. What you're going to do is we're going to put a tank of water in the car. We're going to hook it up to the battery in the car. We're going to use the electricity to conduct electrolysis. And then we're going to take the hydrogen that's produced, pump it into the engine. It will, the hydrogen will clean up, increase the combustion temperature, have more complete combustion, clean up the pollution. And not only will it do that, it will give you more mileage. And we actually had, this guy was brought to the court by a congressman, actually. And, well, first, I already mentioned that if you start raising engine temperature, you're going to actually produce other pollutants. So there was a problem with the technology there. But the bigger problem was his claim to fame, why this would be a success is not only do you reduce pollution, you increase mileage. So you actually save money by buying this equipment. Buy this equipment now, you'll save money in the long run because you'll have to buy less fuel. But if you're taking power out of the battery to start this whole process, and somehow you end up with more energy at the end, it's a perpetual motion machine. It cannot fundamentally work. And so anybody who's taken physics and had to deal with air pollution knows this guy is just full of it. He has no idea what he's talking about. But he's got a congressman, and he's got a lot of time on his hands to bother you. And so you have to take these things seriously, but you have to know, knowing these things, knowing how you can use your science and education to say, no, this doesn't work, and you have to demonstrate this. Show me how you're going to overcome your physics problem here. Allows you to go, okay, sorry, you've had your moment, we're done, and we come up with something that actually works. Please let us know. After treatment is actually one of the most effective ways to deal with pollution. All of you, do you guys drive? So I don't know if you noticed in the back of your car is a catalytic converter. It's a very expensive piece of equipment. It's basically a catalyst. What happens is when pollution goes through the thing, you have, it's a precious metal catalyst. That's why typically it's well bolted to the car. You have platinum literally on your tailpipe from your car. That platinum acts as a catalyst to reduce the pollution. The big thing that we did in the ports is that technology was finally applied to diesel trucks, which is an incredibly challenging thing to do because the chemistry is different. The gasoline engine, you get to really learn. One of the things you know about, you'll probably learn if you don't already know about catalysts, is that one of the things that help drive a catalytic reaction is heat. And so when you have high temperatures and the right catalyst, you can make reactions go quickly. And that's what your catalytic converter does in the car. It eliminates the pollution that your car produces by passing the pollution over a catalyst at high heat. Diesel do the same thing. It's much harder in diesel because diesels burn much colder with much less heat than gasoline cars. And so, but you apply that technology, and one of the things another example of how we use science, basic physics and chemistry when we're looking at these things is, I had another guy once long ago that came to me and said, I've got the perfect catalyst for you. We're going to put it in front of the engine. We're going to clean up the fuel before it goes into the engine, and it's not going to have the platinum or a palladium or other noble metals. We're going to use tin and mercury and lead, and it's going to fix everything. And of course, one of the earliest things that we ever did with pollution, air pollution for cars, is we took lead out of gasoline. Lead in gasoline was actually has been shown in studies to have led to lower IQ among youth who grew up during the period where we had lead in gasoline. That would probably be me included. But you have to deal with people that everybody wants to sell something. You have to know what are these things you're trying to sell and why. The other thing that's really interesting, when we do have the right catalyst, one thing that they did at the port was try and actually capture pollution. That's actually a bonnet that's actually capturing pollution as it comes out of the engine, and there are catalysts on the shore to try and treat it. And then, of course, the best way to get rid of pollution is eliminate combustion. And that's something that you're going to see a lot of. Over the course of your life, Priuses are becoming popular. The policymakers in this region are going to be driving not just the ports, but that's where it's going to start, but the entire region to a zero emission, what we call zero emissions goods movement. So basically your trucks, your trains, eventually, at least your trucks in the next 15 years, there's going to be a significant move toward zero emission in one way or another. There's a lot of ways of doing this. One, turn off the engine is a great way. So what you have here, this is a ship. When a ship's at berth, if you've seen, a ship come in, it has thousands of containers on board. Those containers often have food, pharmaceuticals, sensitive electronics that can't be exposed to high heat. In order to protect them, they're put in what's called refrigerated containers. Those containers require a lot of energy. When they're on the ship, they're all plugged into the ship, and the ship's auxiliary engines, which themselves are huge, will provide the power. But when it's at berth, you don't want those engines continuing to run. And so the ports have actually spent money to build the infrastructure, literally hundreds of millions of dollars in infrastructure, So ships can plug in to the grid on shore and turn off their engines. The other thing is battery technology. You're going to see a lot of money going into technologies for trucks in the very near future. So you're going to see trucks with batteries on board. You're going to see trucks with. Have you guys been to San Francisco? You know the buses with the catenary system overhead. You know the wires. You're going to see that on trucks here. There's actually going to be a demonstration project on the Long Beach, Los Angeles city border where they're going to do something like that for trucks because the goal is to eliminate that pollution. So that is my overview of ports and air pollution. That was pretty quick. Do you guys have questions about what I'm talking about? And you have there's some other things I can share if you feel like. Nothing?
That elementary, you have 10 minutes to get to the next class.
You mentioned like converting using some new fuels instead of older, more clean fuels. What kind of fuels are there?
It's actually the same fuel that what we call on-road diesel fuel. It's the same fuel everybody else uses. Just in ports, they were exempted from using it because those ships are international ships, so they don't have to apply to use that. Now they're regulated saying you can't use residual fuel. You have to use clean fuels. And I used to keep in my office this residual fuel. You literally to turn it upside down and it would not pour out. So you have to heat it to about 150 degrees Fahrenheit before it would start flowing.
So is the clean fuel better?
No, it's just more expensive. Much more expensive. Twice as much.
Okay, so where are you guys getting like government funding to pay for clean fuel?
No, it's, this is one of the things, there's this concept called externalities. You guys take economics? You know what externalities are? Okay. So the port's externalities are pollution. What we've done essentially said, okay, that's an externality you can't have anymore. You have to absorb the cost of that externality through higher fuel costs to reduce the pollution. And so, yeah, the ports, there were some incentives to help get these things started, but this is a cost for industry. It's basically when you have the right catalyst. So what happens is an engine in the presence of nitrogen oxide, in the presence of nitrogen, when I have to say nitrogen, it will produce nitrogen oxide, basically NO2. What it does, when you have the catalyst there at the high temperatures, it will take the NOx and split it back into N2 and O2 atmospheric hydrogen, atmospheric nitrogen. And so basically, it's without a catalyst, it's a high energy reaction. It needs a lot of energy to go back to atmospheric conditions. The catalyst allows you to do it at a relatively low temperature, like 400 or 500 degrees or something. I can't remember the exact temperature.
Thank you so much for coming.